is Julie.
And this is Chantel, and we are Viera Vida.
And welcome back to the Viera Vida show, where we do life together during these amazing, unprecedented, good, bad times. We're here for you. So welcome on this oh my gosh, it's the 30th day of May.
Yeah, this weekend is June, I think. No, Monday. Yeah.
Pretty much June is a spitball away.
Okay, I'm gonna stop trying to think.
And no, June is Monday, but I'm so excited to be here because, I didn't think it was going to be this beautiful day, and it's just great to start these days like this in the morning with the besties. So welcome back to the Viera Vida show. We are just living through this pandemic just like you are. First of all, let's get right into business. You already know, if you are not new around here, that we like to start our show off with a little bit of love.
Yeah.
Our love is giving roses or celebrating those who have done something amazing in our lives or something that's worth noting. So we call this our listener shout out section. Chantel, do you want to start out with your shout out?
I will start off with my shout out or whatever.
All right, whatever then.
It's starting to finally get nice outside, like consistently. Memorial Day really threw me off that weekend because the Sunday before, it was like chilly. I was sitting around a fire pit. It was cold a little bit. And normally when I think back to my childhood, going outside and playing, we were in shorts, t-shirts, running around, having barbecues. Like, it was hot normally this weekend. So anyway, it's finally starting to get nice. We had to turn the air conditioner on. The sucker wasn't working. Now, we knew that we have to get it charged every 2 years, because there was a leak. But we decided, the cats are in the background playing. That's so cute. We decided to go ahead and just keep getting it charged until we get to the point where, like, okay, we finally want to get this fixed. Well, this year it told us, no, you have to get us fixed. You can't just keep
time.
It's time. So Chris, my husband, Julie knows, but just for sake of everybody else who might not know who Chris is, went trying to find quotes. They was a little expensive, as they would be, because we got everything replaced, the furnace and the actual AC unit. But I want to shout out A&M General Contract here in Philadelphia. They came through with the best price. They also, I believe, the Dominican, shout out to, the peoples, had his license, had all that stuff in place and insurance. Like, he's out here legit doing his thing. So I just want to shout them out. A&M General Contract. They got it done fast. Very easy to work with. So yes, shout out to that company. So if you need some HVAC work, and he's also talking about he's going to give us a good price on our kitchen. So that's next. Yes, friend.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited to see your kitchen remodel. I've had ideas about that since we went to go view that place.
Well, let's talk over here sometime, because I will sit and talk with you about that.
I love it. I post pictures all the time. Listen, Bessie, if you want ideas for home decor, go ahead and check out my Pinterest, because I am always on there. I think that I'm going to be like a home designer or something.
Listen, it could happen.
It could happen.
Put that hat on with all the other hats you have on.
Thanks. I'm like, did you ever see Alice in Wonderland, where they put all the different teacups on top of each other, but mine are hats?
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay, without further ado, my listener shout out. I actually want to, and I've done this before, but in the spirit of being real, a real person with a real life, and always sharing that with you all, besties, I am going to share my listener shout out as my husband, Julio. He has really been doing a good job dealing with me lately because the pandemic is hard for me. Like, I feel so much pain, and then with everything that's going on with race in the world, it's just really hard for me, and it affects me. It makes me emotional. He's been dealing with that well, but also we had a conversation, and Chantel, you were there years ago, where, God forbid, if there was an apocalypse with zombies, who would be in charge? And I never wanted him to be in charge, because I thought he was going to be a little bit crazy. I'm like, let me see these skills that you have, that supposedly you're in charge. Well, lately he's been fishing, and he has been bringing food to the table, filleting it up, cooking it there. I'm like, okay, you're our Walking Dead scenario leader, and I will finally admit that publicly. So shout out to my husband.
That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. It's so funny. We always used to argue about, no, not you because of this. Like, we'd always point out, like, and in a fun way, not like we were trying to down, but like point out little flaws, like because you be doing this, you be doing that, you ain't gonna be a leader. We ain't following you. Like Julie and I always agreed on who we were not following.
Right. And it's so funny because it would be the most random time and you would like, I don't know, spill your coffee in the middle of the cafe. This is why you can't be in charge.
So true. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking about our arguments and conversations like during the show, but I forgot we would hang out and be out double dates with each other.
Right.
Like, you see the way you handle that situation, you would not be the leader. I forgot all about that. That's hysterical.
Are we the only ones who do that? I really want the best. Who's listening? I really want you guys to let us know if you do that or have done that, or really get into a show and you bring it to your life because, man,
That's funny. I forgot all about that, friend.
This is a big deal. A big deal.
But that doesn't make you feel good.
Yes. So speaking of, shows, I know that one of Chantel's fortes in terms of suggestions when it comes to how to enjoy yourself is it tends to be Netflix, and she always brings up like I don't even know why Netflix has not sponsored us yet because Chantel's on it. So I was thinking we would go ahead and start today because today is, for those of you who don't know, our Sancocho episode where we talk about a little bit of this and a little bit of that, like all the ingredients that go inside of Sancocho. So we are going to start with Netflix shows of the day. Chantel, what have you been watching on Netflix?
Dang, you just hitting me like that. Okay, so
I could go first too, if not.
So I can tell you the first one that I'm watching, and then maybe you can tell me what you're watching, then I'll maybe add some other things.
Okay, let's hear it.
You know what? I can tell you two. I just brought up my app so I can.
One, because you might have my only one that I had watched.
Oh wait, it's all in my way. Wait, my it's still not working. Whatever. Listen, I feel like an old lady. Like, can you see? Can you see?
For those of you who are listening on the radio, Chantel's trying to show you her phone right now. Nobody can.
It wasn't working.
Nobody can see it.
Okay, so let's just start this off. So literally right now, and I was watching as I was blow drying my hair. I have on my my wall, like with the pink. I got the old school pink tile in my bathroom. You know, here that we got here in Philly in a lot of bathrooms, and it had the soap thing attached to the wall. So I turned my phone and I put it on there, and then I put the caption on so I can read like while I'm blow drying. So I was watching Blood and Water.
Oh, what is that?
It takes place in South Africa. So basically, in the very beginning, it lets you know right off the bat, there is a family who is celebrating a birthday of the firstborn who was kidnapped as a baby. So she would have turned 17, and their friends and family come around. So you're following who would have been her sister, who is also, I'm assuming her younger sister's 16, the one that's still with the family. And it bothers her a little bit. They tell you right away, it bothers her a little bit that they're still celebrating the sister because the mom seems distant. And then she has a hunch that somebody might be her sister. She starts investigating, and that's what I'm watching.
Oh, what's it called again? The Blood what?
Blood and Water.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds really good. Yep. So is that what kind of genre is that? Like a drama?
I think it is, and it's also like teen as well. Okay. And it's also the fact that it takes place in Africa. Like Netflix, shout out to you for coming through with those. They also had Queen Sono, which I watched. I finished that really fast. They're starting to give us whatever. I wish we could have a lot more, but you know what? I'll take what they're giving. I'll take
progress. Exactly. So girl, right along those lines, I love the transition because my Netflix series that I have binged and watched, and Julio and I loved it together. It was actually one that took place in Spain. It's called Money Heist, or La Casa de Papel, or I don't know, people call it all different things, but Money Heist on Netflix is a show about a criminal mastermind who you tend to really find empathy for and love this character, but he is, the villain of the show, also the hero. And I love shows like that. I always tell you guys, I love seeing the perspective of when there is somebody who should be bad, but you love them. Case in point, The Grinch, The Minions, like all the shows and movies that I really fall in love with have that theme. So basically what he does is he conjures up a team and a plan to help him to print billions of euros in the Royal Mint of Spain. And, it goes on to show the different perspectives and lots of character development, and such a good show. The one
Mhm.
thing I will say is that the show is in Spanish, so if you don't speak Spanish, and especially Spain Spanish, which is different, um, you will be listening to voiceovers over the Spanish language, which they do a really good job at. But for the first episode, it will be jolting. You'll be like, the mouths aren't.
I was getting ready to ask you, like, before you even mentioned the language, because I know it's in Spanish, because Castilian Spanish, because Chris and I watched the first episode, never got back to it. Not that we didn't like it, we just there's so much to watch. Um, I was gonna ask you, do you watch your shows or movies in their original language? One, being that you and Julio speak Spanish, you're able to understand better than somebody who does not. And then two, even if it's in a completely different language, like Chris and I watched this TV show 3%. It's in Portuguese because it takes place in Brazil, I think. I personally, as long as I'm not like I don't have something to do and I can like just watch, I like watching with the original language and reading the captions. So I'm just wondering what you do. What's your forte?
So for me, it depends on the show because Narcos, for example, I listen to in its original language, which is Spanish, but it is Colombian Spanish, which is um, much more similar to Latin Americans' version of Spanish. But Money Heist we listened to in English. We didn't do subtitles for that because Castilian Spanish is very different, and there are certain things that I wouldn't have gotten, especially because it is such a colloquial show in terms of like these are villains. They're not going to be speaking textbook Spanish, and
Right.
they're going to have all these
Their
slang terms,
slang.
and so it does depend. And also, I get headaches a lot watching TV. So if I'm going to be watching a whole series, it is hard for me to read the captions the whole time because then you want to see their expressions and I feel like I miss things. So yeah, I end up going with the voiceover for the most part.
That's cool. That's cool.
Mhm.
We're gonna get you some blue light glasses too.
Mine do have blue light.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
you know, I suffer from migraines. Also, like the weight of the glasses on your face.
Yeah, I can feel that because sometimes hats, like the pressure from hats, even though I
Right.
love wearing them, especially
So
on a hair day when it's not washed.
right. So I just want to know what people are watching because for me, no matter how you're watching it, I feel like it does kind of shape this chapter in our life, this quarantine chapter. You know, we have been quarantined longer than the Kim Kardashian and Chris Humphries marriage. Like this is something big.
Oh,
And
shut
so I just want people to know that
is it?
whatever you're watching could, shape the way that you're seeing the world and things like that. So keep that in mind because
There,
I look out here at the store and I'm like, what are these people up to?
there is a tweet that's going around social media. I saw it on somebody's IG story that said, "We're no longer," or something about, "I miss the days or the quarantine days of the Tiger King and stimulus check." It said we're coming into dark days, like the fact that like because everything seems so much lighter then, even though it's still very serious.
Right.
Any of us expected to still be here where we are, being in the stay-at-home orders. Even though our county is getting ready to move to yellow in Pennsylvania very very soon, um, but it's exactly what you said. It's getting a little bit crazier, but I also watched Dead to Me.
Okay, what is Dead to Me? This is okay. The first show was Blood in the Water.
Blood and
Second
Water.
was Blood and Water, Money Heist, and Dead to Me. Let's hear it.
Yes, so Dead to Me is starring Christina Applegate. Christina Applegate, for anybody who doesn't know, was a Bundy on Love and Marriage. I think she played Kelly. So again, in the very beginning, I'm not going to give anything away. Christina Applegate's character's husband dies.
Oh,
And then she goes to a grief counseling session with other people who have lost their spouses or partners, and a woman befriends her. And then they get really, really cool and really close, but that friend has a secret, and that's all I'm gonna say.
a secret.
She has a secret. That's all I'm gonna
You know
say.
what I like about this already? It sounds super mysterious, but not in a scary way.
Mhm.
That's the kind of shows I like.
Yeah. And it's like quirky. Some of it makes you chuckle, even though it's serious. And I'll just tell you, like, Will Ferrell is one of the executive producers. So
Say no.
it's not going to make you like ha, 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 like not that comedy. I guess they consider it dark. With that sounds so bad, but like dark comedy, just because of the situation, like with the death of the husband and everything. Um, but yeah, season 2 just came out during this quarantine time, and what made me go and watch it because I've seen it suggested before. Season 1, season 2 came out. People were talking on social media, and I'm like, you know what? Let me check it out. And from episode 1, I was like, where have I been? I needed to watch this. Pretty good. Dead to me on the Netflix.
Okay, well, that sounds really dope. One more for me. Um, what have I been watching? What? Come on, it's been something. Oh, you know what?
Okay.
This isn't a show, it's a movie,
Mhm.
but I have really been loving Elizabeth. What is her name? The one who was in the the one with the hood. I can't remember anything right now. Let me look it up.
Excuse me. And why are you
Okay.
looking out? Oh, go
So
ahead.
this is a show. I mean a movie. It's called The Invisible Man, and
I think
I thought this was
that.
gonna be scary.
Let me add it to
It
my.
has Elizabeth. Wow, am I from Spain now? Elizabeth Moss in it, and Elizabeth Moss is the main character. But basically, um, you find this out at the beginning. So after staging his own suicide, a crazed scientist used his power to become invisible to stalk and terrorize his ex-wife. When the police refuse to believe her story, she decides to take matters into her own hands. Can you imagine? Can you just like hearing that in itself? Can you imagine that someone learned how to be invisible and you're trying to tell the police, and they're like, okay, this is crazy. She does such a good job. I love the little faces she made. She's like Kerry Washington, where she has like certain faces. Elizabeth Moss's certain faces that she always makes in whatever she plays, but they work. The Invisible Man.
Okay. Also, I want to shout out. I don't know what Julie has on the list today, but I want to shout out Avatar because the cartoon just came back on Netflix. I
Okay.
was a huge fan of Avatar when it was on Nickelodeon. My son's watching it right now, so yeah, I hated what they did with the movie. It was horrible. Um, Big disappointment, but love the TV show. Also, I have to mention this because I was scrolling through Netflix as I was looking for that, even though it's not, so it's not on Netflix, The Visible Man, but I'm gonna look that up. Sounds good. Available now, season 1, and it's a photo of Steve Carell. Space Force.
What?
Steve Carell. So it has to be a comedy just because he's on
Yeah,
it. So
that is so funny to me. You love him or you hate him, right?
that's exactly right. And then after I gave birth to Eliana, my husband and I, since I was home, stuck in a certain seat downstairs, we binge watched The Office again. Um, Steve Carell's awesome. The show was awesome. So yeah, I just added that to my list. I have no idea what it's about, but yeah.
Also, Steve Carell played Gru in Despicable Me, the one with the minions. So shout out.
Yes, that is your fave.
It was really, really good. Okay, so we have shows next in quarantine life. Many people are taking this time to read. I'm not sure what, you're a mom, you've got two children, but I did have a book recommendation that I wanted to share because I just rediscovered this book and am in love. So we'll do the book and then we'll take a short break. But the book that I have is called Fahrenheit 451. Have you ever heard of Fahrenheit 451? I feel like it's
Make
so
a
old.
movie out of that, or try to with Michael B. Jordan, maybe.
Did they? Oh, see, I didn't even see the movie, but I was okay. So basically, this book was written by Ray Bradbury, and I like Ray Bradbury as a writer already, and it was originally published in 1953. But I've read this book whenever I was in like, I think it was like AP English in college, or I mean in high school, and I didn't appreciate it the way that I do this time reading it. So this is what we're reading in our book club this month, and basically it's a first off, I love dystopian novels. It's a dystopian novel. It was published in 1953 and it was regarded as one of the best works like for the American Society, the Future American Society were books. I can't even remember, but like
Society of books.
Basically, firemen created fires instead of putting out fires, and the fires that they created were to burn books. So if there was if the siren went off, it was because they were going to be burning some books. So really, really interesting. I love that. It really gives me perspective on what the world is going through right now, as we're shortening the things that we read, as we're like getting our news from little clippings on Twitter, as we're listening to what we would have listened to or read before, on a podcast. It's really interesting to think about, you know, all of that, and the book brings that to light. So love that book, but we'll just take a short break. I'm going to play a song for you guys from Money Heist, and we'll be back with the next portion of Sancocho.
Una mattina mi sono alzato, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Una mattina mi sono alzato e ho trovato l'invasor, un partigiano, buttami via. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, 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 partigiano, buttami via, che mi sento di morire.
Get out. I cannot wait for the next season to come out, but it probably will
Yeah.
be a year or so.
I got some text
So
messages when you played the song. Oh, that's from Money Heist. We're on part 3. And then another text, Money Heist. I think I started watching. Have to get back to it.
it's so good. So check it out if you guys are looking for something to check out. Also, check out Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Such a good book. So, okay, we talked about some entertainment, but one thing that I wanted to address today is, the feelings of anxiety and depression that people are facing during this crazy time. So, you know, sorry to throw it on you guys, but this is how we do in our Sancocho episodes. It gets serious, it gets light, and we go back and forth. So I have spoken to many people who are facing both a mix of anxiety and depression during these unprecedented times. This is a time where people don't know what's coming next. People don't know sometimes where their checks are coming. That's anxiety ridden. And then when you feel that you can't provide, or if you're feeling different, if your body's going through changes, that can be depressing. So I want to talk about what to do when depression and anxiety meet during a time like this. Now, I'm just going to put a disclaimer out. I am not a therapist. I am not an MD. I just, do a lot of research before these shows. Chantel's husband is a therapist. He is licensed, and we speak to him often. We talk to professionals as much as we can. But just remember that if you're seeking, somebody to do talk therapy with, then there are many resources that you can reach out to. I want to bring up that there are online resources for talk therapy, because right now during the pandemic, um, like, we can't go out. So just wanted you guys to know that there is this place, this online forum, and it's called Talkspace. Talkspace.com. It's actually the number one rated therapy platform online. And you can call 24/7. You can find someone who will help you, or you can, reach out during more traditional or during business hours for more traditional ways of therapy. But talkspace.com, I just want to put that out there in case anybody, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, you can reach out during the middle of the night or the middle of the day to talkspace.com.
Yeah.
Chantel's got her serious face on, yeah, because she knows this is for real. Okay, so what do you do when depression and anxiety mix? And what's the first thing you think of, Chantel, when you're seeing someone who's really battling depression and anxiety? Let's think about the things that we say to them so that we can make sure that we're giving good advice, and really talk through these things. So what would you say to somebody right now who came up to you and is like, Chantel, I am really struggling. I am sad. I am anxious. I don't know what to do. what would you tell them, Chantel?
So I would give them my ear and allow them to talk freely and openly about whatever it is they want to discuss. Um, and then with, my belief, ask them first if they believe in the Father as I do, ask them if we can pray, regardless if they don't. Would you mind if we pray together? Because one of the things that I personally feel, and when you're going through that time, nobody can pull you out of it except for you, because I think that when people try to help their friends or their loved ones who are going through that time, they think that if they give direct advice and tell them what to do, um, it's going to help pull them out. And pull them out, that's like, lack of better words I can use, or like bring better days around for them or make them feel better about what's going on, right? I think the best, in my opinion, the best thing to do for anyone going through that is to be there for them. Be an ear to listen. I love you. I am here for you. If you need me, call me. Text in the morning. Hey, how are you doing? Because I think it is something that you just need a really strong support system. And then hopefully you can take steps or figure out what works for you if you're going through depression or anxiety to make your days better and make the shooting clouds away.
I love that. I love, love, love that. So in the research that I've done, and right now I'm referencing an article that's on WebMD and Psychology Today. So I'll be going back and forth. But Chantel, one of the things that I keep seeing is, yes, active listening, being present. People feel alone at this time, especially when you can't leave your house. So we want to do that. We want to be, there for them, whether it is through a text or a call or just checking in and letting them know that we're there. So that is actually a recurrent theme in all of these articles. Secondly is recommending, like we said, talk therapy, because we might not have the right words or the right cognitive behavioral background or interpersonal skills or problem solving skills or whatever it is, to deal with whatever that person is going through individually. So what I like to do is also recommend that, talk therapy is an option. And one thing that I want to expose now, and I want to talk about as much as we can until this is over, is that there's a stigma. There's a stigma against, admitting that you're depressed or anxious. There's a stigma against like seeking a therapist and seeking talk therapy. I want to break that. That is, I'm sorry, that's the enemy. That is people trying to tell you that you shouldn't try to be better, whatever you can. Yes, I understand. And I hear this actually. I'm going to say something and take it how you guys want, but my heart is, the Lord's, and I love God and I love my relationship with the Father. But I find, not but, also, I find that a lot of people who have that deep relationship with the Father say there's no reason to talk to a human. There's no reason because you have the Father. And I want you to know that as a believer, I still believe that God gives us resources. And sometimes that's a person who is licensed in therapy. So, yes, still speak to the Father, still pray, but don't just dismiss the resources that the Father has given us. Don't let somebody convince you that seeking help is either against your religion or makes you less than or makes you less of a believer. And that's something that I have found a lot, actually, even in my own life, but I want to get past that.
Yeah. And to speak to that stigma, if we tell people, generally speaking, if we tell people what we're thinking or what we're going through, it's like, oh, they're crazy. Oh, you're crazy. You think that, what? And so the main point and the bottom line, or the major point to what I'm saying, is you definitely have to know who you can trust, because you don't want them to take what you're going to tell them and run it all through the street and gossip about you. So you want a safe space. So one, I agree with Julie of the therapy. It's definitely a safe space because of that client-patient confidentiality. So they're not going to go and run and tell your business everywhere. Mm-hmm. But also, I think we'll be so surprised. And I've had conversations myself with a few people in my support systems where I've shared with them certain things I've gone through. And certain things that I thought, if I tell them they're going to judge me, that they too have maybe gone through that, or they too have had those same thoughts.
Mm.
So it reminds me that we're human, and that trials, tribulations, battles, mental battles will try to come to defeat us. But if we talk about it and get it out, it can help, because you don't know who might be going through what you're going through and what you're thinking about. Especially during these times, being people of color, being Black and brown, and going through the injustices that we're seeing. And I don't want to talk about it too much, because I'm gonna get emotional with everything that's going on right now in the news. We really need to talk to each other, and we need to talk about it, because if you let that sit inside and you let it like fester, it can just do more harm to you individually as a person. So yeah, I'm in a big agreement with Julie said. If you can't trust anybody, you don't think you have somebody you can trust, find a therapist. They're not going to go and tell people about, what you're going through.
They're not going to run and tell that.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's also really interesting is that my husband and I actually are able to speak to our therapist through video conference, and in these times, that's what works for us. And you might not like that. It might feel distant to you, but it's something. We're all going through something. Whether you think your life is perfect, there's always something that needs to be worked through. I'm of the firm belief that there's always room for improvement. So even if nothing is wrong, find someone you can talk to. Sometimes that's the best time to find someone you can talk to.
Yep, that is the best. And one thing my mom always says, she always says this, love you mom, she's watching and listening. You should talk about things with other people, because you never know what you're going to learn. You never know what advice you're going to get. You never know what knowledge, resources you're going to get from telling that person or telling someone. They might come back and say, oh, I know, because I've been through that. She says it all the time. And I have found it personally to be true. Even with silly little things, looking for tickets to go to Sesame Place. Julie knows, because she was there. And I talked about it to somebody we just met or we're working with. She's like, oh, I can get you tickets. And she did. She got me tickets for free. So it's okay to talk. It's okay to be open. It's okay to guard yourself so you don't get hurt from talking about certain things. But it's okay. It's all right.
Shout out to your mom, because that lesson that she taught you has been one that you then take and you teach to other people and actually have taught to me. So I have always been very private, which is ironic considering I have like a vlog and things like that. But I don't talk about things, and especially things that have been hard. And until Chantel and I really developed our friendship, I didn't have the confidence to talk about things. And then Chantel would be like, girl, let me tell you, and let's talk about this. And then I'm like, oh, well, she has said that. Now I could tell her this. And so it's a give and take relationship. And so Chantel, you've taught me that. And don't be out here getting emotional. So had I not learned that lesson,
Hey, baby, let me get you a tissue. Hold on.
had I not learned that lesson, the last year or so would have been devastating for me. And, everything happens for a reason. And that lesson that your mom taught me, that you taught me through your mom, I really feel like is a gift. And so, yes, take that, use it, share it, because it's not cool to be a recluse anymore. Okay. That email was passed. Find someone you can trust. Don't be out here sharing your whole life with the whole world. But yes. So we're going to go to our next technique. So we talked about, seeking advice, both professionally and through friendships, but there are some things that you can do yourself to help you through this time, to help you through depression and anxiety. And you've heard them a million times, but we're going to say them because all of the resources prove that they're true. So the first is exercise. It's a proven mood booster. Now, I'm saying that I don't exercise. Okay. I try. It doesn't, the way my body is set up, I'm gonna have to work on that, but it will help you to release endorphins, even if it's just a brisk walk. Have you ever felt that push of endorphins when you exercise?
So I have to be honest. In the beginning, I don't feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Times when I've exercised, people are like, oh, you're supposed to feel great. I'm like, I don't feel anything. But there was a time period just before Nehemiah where I was exercising, working out, eating right. And eventually I did understand what they were talking about as far as the energy. So some people might get it right away when they get into exercising, where they feel that adrenaline, they feel the endorphins, they feel great mood boosters. And some of us, like me, it might take you a little longer to get to that point to where this is feeling great, because you might feel wiped in the beginning, because that's how I would feel, like completely wiped out. But it's progress, right? So you just got to take those steps little by little and get there. And eventually, yes, it will, if you're like me, it will give you that energy and give you a mood booster.
I will say that the energy I don't really get,
Yeah.
but the mood booster I get right away. Like after, not during the workout, let's not play, but afterwards, I
Oh,
do
great.
feel, yeah, and even if it's just, I there's this feeling that you get in your chest, right? Like this tightness when you're sad or when you're going through something, or when even like depression, anxiety, there's just like this tightness, and exercising will really like melt that for me. So what I used to do is dance a lot, and that was so cathartic. I can't wait till I can do that more. But even just like little walks, man, I count it as exercise when I walk to the package room and I come back. I count it. Okay, because that's something, and I feel it, and it does. It gives me joy. On that note, the exercise is also giving me joy because I am trying to do it outside. So a little bit of vitamin D. I was talking to someone yesterday. They were really, facing, depression, anxiety, and all these things. And I said to this person, I'm looking at you through FaceTime and you're in a dark room. It's beautiful outside. Like, why don't you get outside? Why don't you try to get some sun? Let's talk while you're on the porch or whatever. And I truly, truly believe that vitamin D deficiency is one of those things that goes so unnoticed that people tend to not realize how much it affects their daily life. And I have been vitamin D deficient and taken supplements, and then afterwards felt like a new person. So get some sunshine.
Yeah, and I think I've heard it said that that's, depression, everything is high in the wintertime, because we're not getting outside and getting our sun like we would in the summer when it's warm and you want to be outside and do outdoor activities.
Right.
So that's definitely, definitely true.
So along those same lines, when you think about exercise, you think about diet and these supplements, or vitamins and things that we need to get. So check your diet. Don't let comfort foods be the only thing. Excuse me, the only thing that you're using, because they can also trigger, like cravings, and then you feel bad. And it's this whole cycle. You can use them when you want, but also make sure that in general you're getting the nutrition that you need. And that sounds so cliche, but it doesn't have to look like everybody else's plate. Nobody's telling you eat salad every meal of the day, but are you getting colorful meals in? And I'm not talking about Fruity Pebbles colorful. I'm talking about natural colorful meals in. That's going to help. It really is.
Variety. It's all about variety.
Right. And then finally,
Uh-huh.
relaxation techniques. And I'm looking outside of my window right now, and there's a couple people doing yoga. That's great. Um, I personally, I don't know how I feel about yoga. I've never done yoga. I know that they do some things that I don't understand and stuff, but stretching,
Yeah,
for
I'm with you.
prayer, meditation, whatever it is, um, focus on your breathing. I have on my Apple Watch. It's so rude because every time I find myself agita or like feeling a little bit tense or something, my watch would be like, take a breath. And I'm like, and it's like take a meaningful breath. Make a picture in your mind of a beautiful day. you know Visualize, make pretend that you're on the beach. These things, they sound silly, but man, I got my background of my computer is like the beach, and sometimes I'll just put the video of like the beach playing, and I really do feel like it relaxes me. That might not work for you, but it's
It's
just
the
me.
little things, whatever you find that works for you. So the funny thing is, you said your background is the beach. My background of my Gmail, even my work email, my other one's not so much, but my work email is like the blue sky and fields, because you can change whatever your theme is. So that's what my work email has, like a nice blue background, that looks kind of like clear blue skies, green
I love it.
pastures. Um, and something, so one of the things I wanted to quickly go back to is the food and nutrition, right? Because some people
Mhm.
might say, oh, well, I don't like that healthy stuff. You can train your taste buds. Take it from me, I'm not really that picky, but there's some things that are healthy that when I went on a clean eating regimen, I was like, oh my gosh, this tastes so green. Oh my gosh, this tastes so whatever, especially when I wasn't allowed to use any salt. You could use any other seasonings, but no salt at all. Cheese had to be minimal. So all these things that you would get like some flavoring from couldn't do. And so I was eating like kale salads with only balsamic vinegar. I can do that today. Believe me, Julie, your face is exactly how I felt. But because I would do it and do it, like I made myself do it, I trained my taste buds and I could eat raw kale in a salad with just balsamic vinegar. So you can train your taste buds. It does take a little bit of time, but as long as you're consistent, something you want to do, if you're consistent and you know what, you want to make the change for the better, you can definitely change to like things that are healthy that you didn't like before.
Mhm.
That's doable. And then, Julie, with you saying, we're going to mention this again, we're going to mention this again, I have to tell you really quickly, there was a time, and I've talked about it before, that I was going through, right? And a few people, when I would talk to them, the people in my support system, everybody was saying the same thing to me. Everybody was giving me the same advice. And it wasn't until I heard it from one of my friends. Granted, it wasn't to take away anything that previous people I spoke to about, nothing away from them. But when she finally said it, I was like, oh, like something clicked. And that actually was the first day for me that I started turning stuff around. And when I thought back to the conversations with other people in my support system, once I started digging myself out of this hole, I'm like, they were all saying the same thing.
Mm.
So even for those who might be the support system, you might be the one to be the ear or might give a little bit of the advice. Even if you've repeated yourself, if you truly love that person, it's okay. Say it again. Sometimes we don't hear it until the fifth, sixth, seventh time when it
Right.
finally clicks and then it makes sense.
I mean, it's science. Honestly, think about it. Like, let's take the emotion out of it, right? Like, our let's take the sadness out of it. When you purchase something, you have probably seen, for example, 5, 6, 7 ads for that before you make the decision. And it's the same thing when you make a change. You have probably heard, the change that needs to be made. You've learned about it. You've considered it 5, 6, 7 times, a month, 2 months, years. You know what I'm saying? But when you decide this is going to be it for me,
Yep.
then that's what's going to be the change, and it's not easy.
Yep.
And no, and you don't just sit there and you're like, I hate when people are like, well, don't worry about that. Stop worrying so much. Okay, I can't help it.
Good.
Yeah, like you can't sit there and be like, well, don't feel sad. Well, don't no. Okay, when you're feeling sad, try this is a better way to say it. When you're feeling this, how can I help you? Like have
Mhm.
that conversation. Don't tell someone not to be exactly how they are in that moment because then they feel worse about it.
Yep.
That's just something that bothers me.
Yeah, that's very true. And that speaks to me saying, listen and don't tell them what to do and don't try to tell them what to do. It's exactly how I feel because the moment you say, well, why are you laying there? Well, why are you sitting there? Why are you? And then you go through this mental spiral of, maybe I'm not that great since I'm just laying here and I'm not getting up and doing anything. Oh my, it's a cycle and cycle and cycle. So exactly what you said.
Yeah. So you guys, I hope this section has been helpful for you. We're just gonna do a little song, take a small break, and then we're gonna wrap up with a little bit more of a lighthearted conversation. Stick with us. Another day is gone. I'm still all alone. How could this be? You're not here with me. You never said goodbye. Someone tell me why did you have to go? Leave my world so cold.
You're not alone. I am here with you. Though far apart, you're always in my heart. For you are not alone. Oh, whisper 3 words and I'll come running. Night, and girl, you know that I'll be there. I'll be there. Not alone. I am here with you. You're far away. I am here to stay. You are not alone. I am here. Hey besties, welcome back to Viera Vida show. Thank you so much for tuning in today as we do our Sancocho episode. I just want to go ahead and bring the mood back up, you guys. We're going to have a couple minutes of some fun facts before we wrap up this episode of the Viera Vida show. Chantel sent you a link in the chat box, and let's go ahead and get started with this 2 minutes of fun facts on the Viera Vida show. So, fun fact, and this is just random things, you guys, that you could take into conversation, and then it's gonna go ahead and turn the whole room around. So, fun fact number 1: did you know that McDonald's once made bubblegum flavored broccoli?
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Why? Why?
Because they were trying to market to children, apparently, and then they were confused by the taste, and then you know that just like countries that ban McDonald's, that might have been part of why. Just saying.
There's this comedian I follow on Instagram, and he says, "What in the haberdashery of hemoglobins is going on?" And that's exactly his voice right now.
Did you know that the first oranges were not orange? In fact, they were green. Did you know?
So then, should we just be eating green oranges? Like, what? Like, why mess with the colors?
I don't know, because apparently the original oranges were from Southeast Asia, and they were like a tangerine pomelo hybrid. So it wasn't actually like an orange yet. It was still like tangerine and whatever pomelo is. And then it started becoming oranges. So it wasn't orange yet. I think. There's only one letter that doesn't appear in any U.S. state name. Can you guess it?
So I'm looking at it, so I can't be that person.
There's only one.
I would have never been able to guess. Never.
It is the letter Q. That's insane. I didn't know that. Okay, we'll give you guys one last.
It's really stupid, and I'm not gonna say it. I'll share it with you when we get off.
Okay.
That's not even in our country. Oh my gosh.
You. Okay, so last fun fact of the day, and then we're gonna have to wrap up because we need to get our next homies back onto Usa Radio, and that is a cow bison hybrid is called, this sounds made up, it's called a beefalo.
Everybody has a beefalo. Yours is fast and mine is slow.
No, water buffalo. So thank you guys for listening to Viera Vida show. We are so happy that we can be real with you guys, that we can have fun, we can have like serious conversations, and we still have you guys by our side. So thank you. We love you so much. We are just here to be by your side. Remember that if you could be anything in this world, choose to be kind, and tune in next week for the Viera Vida show. We love you.
You and I.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road back again. Your heart is true. You're a